everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are happy to have you again. Join us here at Acquire Center. We are so excited. I know there's love in the air. Everybody's feeling a bit lovely, dubby, but whatever your experience are, today we have something for you very interesting, and I have a special guest that I am very excited to share with you. So again, if this is your first time viewing us or joining us, I would like you to click the subscribe button and click the like button if you like this video. I am confident, I am absolutely confident that you will get something of value today. So whatever it is that we will talk about, I'm sure that some part of it will be meaningful to you. And that's really what we're about. We give ideas for inspiration. And that's what we want to do today. We want to give some ideas that could inspire you. So that no matter what you're going through, you don't feel like you're alone, and there are people out there who could tell you a thing or two that could make your life easier. So myself again, Buffy Duty here, lead consultant for Acquire Center. Today I'm speaking and I'm hosting a very dear friend of mine, Lady E, as she's popularly known, and she's a mentor. She's done a lot of work and she has a lot of passions. I must tell you, she's a friend of mine, she's an inspiration, and that's Lady E, Ejiro Umukoro. Today she's based in Abuja for now, and she'll be joining us via virtually, and we're really happy to have her come on board to share with us some of her experiences and ideas. She's helped thousands of couples on a radio show, Nightingale. You want to check that out. I'll put that on the screen so that you get that correctly. And yes, so she's very passionate, as I said again, about many, many, many things. And this is one of them: relationships, helping people get through the tough time, helping people understand what's the best way they can navigate some of the challenges that they face. Myself here, Buffy Diodi, once again, back at you. Today I'm putting on my family life marriage counseling hat as a team firm master mentor, also myself. I hope I'll be able to share one or two things with you that might be of value to you. Remember, what we want to do here is share ideas with some inspiration. So I'm just going to holler at E.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you, Buffy. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm so proud. Now, today's topic is very interesting, and today's topic, basically, we are looking at the topic, when to know that I'm in the right relationship. When do you know that you're in the right relationship? A lot of people are in some kind of relationship, whether it be marriage, dating, long-term relationship. But I think you can extend some of the lessons that we will talk about today to just any type of relationship that you're going through. But because today we're in Valentine's Day and we are talking about love, for the most part, we are looking at people in a romantic relationship, in a love relationship, and how do you know that you're in the right one? And I'm not saying that for those who have, like, side chick, many relationships. I don't know. Maybe Lady E has something to say about that one. But that young person, that guy, that girl, and it doesn't matter. We're not bent onto. Maybe I'll take the guy's side, and maybe Lady E takes the lady's side. But if you're a female or a male and you are wondering, am I in the right relationship? I'm telling you, having spoken to a lot of couples over the years, even after many years of marriage, am I right? Many of them still ask that question: am I in the right relationship? What are the signs? So, Lady E, please tell us what you think. Let's go.
When you talk about people keeping side chicks and everything, what it simply means is that it simply means that something is missing.
Oh,
so the person is looking for something that is there is a gap somewhere, and so they want to fill that gap. And sometimes the gap could be emotional gap, it could be intellectual gap, it could be business savvy conversation kind of gap, it could be lifestyle kind of gap, because we've seen people who are married but are not necessarily compatible, right? Okay. So it may be that recreationally, when it comes to the recreation, they don't parley together, but when it comes to their spirituality, they believe in the same religion. Okay. Now, it's not enough to have just a singular belief in the same religion, whereas your lifestyle are at loggerheads to a point where you can't even come together and say, you know what, I know this is how your lifestyle is, and this is my preference. Well, what can we do to see that you enjoy yours? Not at my judgment, I enjoy mine, not at terms of agreement. And when we say, okay, this time around, if you are the sit-at-home kind of person, the person who enjoys being inside the house, cozy up on the sofa, watching TV. If you're that sort of person, but your partner is
Yeah.
the one that likes to hike, go jogging, climbing mountains, and all of that, what
Yeah.
you could do so that there's not too much gap, it doesn't mean you can't allow each other enjoy moments apart from each other to enjoy
Yeah.
your things or your activities that make it fun for you. But you have to agree that even at some point, sharing in the same activity that your partner loves can have another bonding effect. So that's just one. Let me have to throw in that.
Okay, I
In
just
that way.
let me. That's thank you so much. I want to ask a question because we're talking about gaps now. If someone is going ahead and taking action to
Yeah,
have a side chick, or I don't know what to call, what do you call guys, the side boyfriend? I'm not sure what to call it. So, but let's just assume that somebody
yeah,
is
third boyfriend,
deciding to
third guy.
okay, so someone has decided that there's a gap in this relationship. I'm stepping out on the outside to fill in that gap. But now, from the things you were explaining and expressing, aren't opposites supposed to attract in a marriage? Oftentimes, we see that in a marriage, one person is this way and the other person is that way. Aren't they supposed to complement each other so that we don't have where they are just too identical in behavior and thinking? Because when you mention the word compatibility, what comes to mind is that and when people talk about gaps, is that oh we no longer enjoy doing the same things. We no longer enjoy. We believe in the same religion, but for the most part, we've drifted away in our interests. So we look for someone who shares our passions, right? And that can lead to all. So, but where's the idea that look for someone who is there to complement you? How do you juxtapose finding someone who's opposite to you, maybe complementing you, and then dealing with the gap that that person brings because they don't share your natural instincts or your natural passion? How do you balance those two things?
First and foremost, you have to be honest with yourself. It starts with being honest with who you are. Most of the time, people bring in their representatives into relationships. And when they
Hmm.
do that, it means they're not being true to themselves. So the character, the personality you bring to bear at that point in time with that person that now brought you together, if you can no longer sustain it, you become suddenly a different person after marriage. And that's because you pretended to be somebody else. Maybe pretend may not be the word, but the truth is you were not real to yourself before that relationship took on to the next level. So what happens is why you now see this disconnect often happening is not so much about complementariness in terms of, oh, I like rice, so therefore you two like rice, we can be compatible. Or I enjoy
Okay.
going out more often, but you prefer to, okay, so I like outdoors, but you prefer clubbing. Now, if during the relationship, or rather the dating courtship period, you know you like dancing, you know you like clubbing, you enjoy these
Yeah.
activities, but while you were with that person, you did not show it.
Mm.
Instead, what happened is you were conscious about winning that person and becoming the number one in that person's mind. So you now act along with your partner. So if your partner says, I love picnic, you prefer to now go picnic, even though picnic is not your thing. So if we
Okay.
bring that representative and say this is who, so the truth is your partner was probably true to themselves, but because you were not true, they now got used to you believing this is who you are.
You are.
And then when you now get
So.
into the relationship, into marriage itself,
Mm.
which is more confining for some people because of the nature
Yeah.
of it, you now
Mm-hmm.
discover that I can't keep up. This is not me. I don't want to be this person anymore. I'm tired. I'm done. And then this is where the quarrel starts. We should always remember that if, for example, your treatment to money, if your treatment to
Yes.
money is that once you have a good sum of amount of money, what you do first is to buy a car versus buying a land. It tells you how your value and treatment of money is. In one
Yeah.
instance, it's about what is perceived as attainment, but it retrogrades in the sense that diminishing returns sets in with investment. Then there is the other investment that has to do with land. And when you do buy land, what happens is you are increasing your value. So while one, there is diminishing return very fast. The other actually has an accrual effect of increase in terms of returns on investment. Now, when you now have two people who believe that when we make our first million, what we should use it to do is to build a house, and one other person feels is to buy a car so that they can go around town, there's going to be clash. Then also, another kind of value is, even in religious beliefs, there are people of the same faith, but the way they see even certain teachings, certain character development, certain behavior, certain habits, certain traits are often very different. Two people can be of a Christian faith or a Muslim faith. One has more integrity than the other person.
Yes.
One believes that you must be honest, no matter what happens. Where the other person feels, no, now, uh, sometimes give and take, give some space, be
Yeah. Be
tolerant, be
flexible.
more, that's what life be. This is how things are being done now. Just allow. So that even if you're of the same faith, because you don't have the same value prism through which you see life, through which you approach interrelationship, you're going to always clash. So one of the key ways to
Okay.
know that you are in something that is important to you is this. One, are you always true to who you are in that relationship? Are
Yeah.
you at peace with yourself? Do you see yourself struggling all the time to please the person, always making compromises? And then you go back home or in your bed, or even while you're having dinner, and you're so upset sitting in that person's space with you. You make so much compromise that you no longer recognize yourself. That is a problem. There are also factors like when you come to how you and your partner relates to your families, because in African setting, and as it should be really, when you marry a person, you marry the family as well. So when
Interesting.
you
Yes.
marry the family, how is your interaction like? Are you quickly thrown under the bus when your partner makes a decision that has to do with the family? Or are you carried along? Are you also treated with regard? Are you put in your own proper pedestal, same as you would treat him in his own pedestal as well? So these are the things you have to look at. Then, do both of you bring peace to one another? Do you bring peace? Do you have conversations, open communication from time to time? Are you that open? Do you communicate with honesty? Do you have good debates? The sort of debate that inspires proper conflict. So there's a level of debate that doesn't go into all out wars. Then there's a debate that comes that gravitates into conflict and then goes into extreme bad energies where there is constant fight.
Yeah.
So these are the things you have to consider. These are factors you have to really look into and ask yourself. Then two, you have to look at your career. In the presence of that person, are you thriving? But remember that your career is your personal decision. You have to pursue it in the way that it means, that it matters to you and it makes more meaning to you. A situation where you feel that, oh, unless I get the support of my partner before I can thrive in my career, it's a problem already. That's a red flag. We're not saying that your partners can't support you, but we're saying that you need to take ownership first of your career. If your career is such that your partner is beginning to tell you that you must leave this job so that you can do this in the family, rather than a conversation of, so this is my plan, these are my worries, these are how I feel I can approach this. If you continuously have a situation where you can't even talk about these things, you can't voice how you feel, and even when you do, you're quickly condemned or critically, degraded, as it were,
Shut
then
down.
you've got a problem. So you have to look at that as well. Then your relationship. Are you in a relationship with other friends, with your neighbors, with your colleagues, with people beyond just your immediate environment? Do you do management so that your relationship is not just within the circle alone of your partner, but you also have a life of your own? These things are very important. And then also you have to ask yourself the very key question: is my partner going in the same direction that I am going? in the direction that we're going, are we supporting each other to attain to the best, highest, most important expression of ourselves? If you're not doing that, then you've got a problem. A situation where you cannot open up to your partner. I'm not saying you should tell all secrets to your partner. Sometimes it's okay to keep some things. The law of omission or law of commission,
Watch out.
as the case may be, but not a case of outright lie. Not a case of outright lie. There's a difference between outright lie,
Yes.
then the
Mm-hmm.
issue of commission and omission. So
Yeah.
you need to know the difference. You need to know when you're telling a lie, and you know there will be consequences for that. And then you know that there is a case of omission where you would, in time, fill in the blank spaces. And if
Okay.
required of you, you will try to sweeten things so that people don't get hurt. But the truth is, at the end of the day, the truth always is the best. Because in the long run, when bad catches up with you, truth is always a leveler. It's what resolves the
Mm.
crisis that people experience. So
Yeah.
we need to factor all of this, and in a way you begin to understand that this is good for you. It's an environment that feels sacred, it feels
Mm.
peaceful. Even in your mind, you don't have rioting thoughts. You're not experiencing sadness, grief, depression, anxiety. The moment you're in a
Mm.
relationship and you're experiencing all of these things, just know that one is either you are the one allowing your mind control you, which is the voice of the mind. You need to control that voice of the mind so that it doesn't also cause a case of self-sabotage. We've seen people, because
Yes.
of what they put into their head, they listen to other people and then they imbibe all of these things into their system. And then you begin to act a script that is not yours. So you have to be careful that you yourself are not self-sabotaging the relationship you have.
Very important. Oh, wow. So much, so much. Thank you so much. I want to ask a quick question because we don't have much time. And for today, the network has been poor, so really apologize for that. For the one who is feeling all of these things that you've mentioned, and the opposite side, who makes the most move in trying to correct this? So, for example, I'm feeling anxious in my relationship. I don't feel like I'm getting support for my career. I don't feel like I'm getting support for my own passions. Who makes and I've complained about it in my relationship. Who makes the most move in trying to correct this? Is it me who is feeling anxious? Is it me who is feeling uncomfortable? Or is it my spouse who, by indirectly or directly, is causing the anxiety? Who makes the most, the corrective action? Who takes the first step? And or how does this play out? How do we get to a better place?
So I will say this quickly. I cannot read your mind. You cannot read my mind.
Okay.
That said, we should all be perceptive and develop sensitivity around our partners. It's why we get to learn and understand our partners. So that even when they don't speak sometimes, and you may not know exactly what is wrong, you can sense that something isn't okay. And
Mm.
it's good out of respect, out of regard, out of love, out of courtesy. You reach out to this person you say you love, you value, you're in a relationship together. You can see that sometimes the person they carry face is showing anger,
Mm.
refusing to cook, right? Or treating you right, or not even greeting you. Things, all those minor things, they are signal to something. When somebody starts
Yeah.
behaving that way, you see them sad all the time, they don't talk. Maybe they used to be prayerful, the type of people wake up and pray in the mornings and things like that, but they don't do that anymore. You see patterns are no longer the way they used to be. Different sets of
Mm.
habits are beginning to emerge. As a sensitive, perceptive partner, there's nothing wrong for you to say and say, hey, what's eating you up? What's going on? How can I make your load lighter for you? It's why we're supposed to be couples, right? A companionship where you look out for me, I look out for you. And then when you notice that your partner
Mm.
isn't responding, the onus is now on you. And it's always primarily on you to really reach out and have a pull in of your partner into the space and say, look, there's something you did, it didn't make me happy. What do you want me to do about it? and this is how it's affecting me, or this is how I'm feeling and experiencing this, and I think what I'm experiencing is because of this that happened the other day. How you responded to it, it made me feel I am not appreciated. It made me feel my own passions are not important. It made me feel like I have to be the only one compromising, making sacrifices. And I feel the more I keep making sacrifices, I just don't feel that I matter anymore. I'm losing me and things like that. You should be able to be vulnerable enough to state specifically what it is that is upsetting you. And that's why
Okay,
even you
okay.
must take time to know what is going on first before you now approach your partner and say, look, this and that is what I think is not okay. Can we change it or work on it?
So interesting, interesting. Thank you. So it sounds to me like we all have a role to play in trying to make things better for our relationships. So,
Absolutely.
in my short years of dealing with this issue, I've met different people, and one of the things that I find that people find most difficult to deal with is when you have a partner who has poor communication skills. If you're
Yes.
in a relationship with someone who has very poor communication skills, so for example, they're not able to express themselves, number one, and when being spoken to, they're not able to respond objectively, and that creates a problem. So the partner feels I've got some things to tell this my partner, but if there's no way I would say it that it won't come out wrong. And when you have a partner who doesn't want to take correction, or who feels that every comment is a judgment, how do you deal with such a person when you are now hesitant, and it's best if you just let it be and just deal with your private pain and stew over it? Because if you were to attempt to complain or to ask for a change in behavior, it will be perceived as a judgment call, as a correction, which when that happens, everything shuts down, and you're not able even, and you are worse off than actually where you started off from. So what starts to happen is that the person who feels that I'm not happy with what is going on, it's not able to express themselves because of fear of reprisals or fear of being treated as um, you're just a judgment.
Let me quickly, this is a very important point you're making. Let me quickly say
Yeah.
this. The moment you're in any relationship and you're so worried about your partner's reaction, that is
Hmm.
not a safe place.
Wow.
Relationships are supposed to be safe places where you can
Hmm.
open up and speak. So there's room for criticism, there's room for critique, there's room for feedback, and there's room
Hmm.
for follow-up management to see that things are done
Hmm.
and there's a solution at the end of the day and people are
But
happy
so
after
many
the
people are in
implementation.
this. What do they
So
do?
what
So
will
many
happen
people are
is
in this
this.
relationship.
Yes, I understand that. That's why I say it's not a safe place for that person anymore.
Wow.
And I'm sure there were signs even before the person finally got married that this person doesn't is not quick to understanding or responding to feedback or criticism or critique. So here is
Hmm.
one thing. Now that you are inside, you need to also do some other work. For example, before you feel maybe this is not even where is good for you, you have to
Hmm.
decide one, what is this person's communication style? Some
Hmm.
people understand what you say to them when you speak in pidgin or the native language. Some people understand best when you sit them down. Some people
Hmm.
prefer while they are eating or doing other things, that's when you're talking about things. Then some
Hmm.
people, if you know that they have a lot of ego, right, and they
Hmm.
are extremely egocentric, things are always seen from their own
Yeah.
perspective, the world revolve
Always
around
right.
them. What you need to
Mr.
do
Right.
is good. When you've married a Mr. Right or Miss Right, then there's no way
Hmm.
in anywhere.
Hmm.
There's no way in, there's no way out. So the question is,
Hmm.
do you want to still continue with this? Do you, while we don't advocate that things should end, you should get to a point
Hmm.
where you remember that your mental health is the most important currency. Because
Hmm.
now who they okay, now who they sound, now they feel make other decisions in this life and live
Hmm.
well. So if
Yes.
in a relationship you have tried, take note, you also must have done your part. Most of the people don't even
Okay.
make an effort. Like I told you about that
Yes.
pigeon thing, I'm very serious. There are people who prefer to be spoken in pidgin. Then there are some men, if you married a traditional man, I used to have
Mm.
an uncle who's late. The only way you can get to my uncle, a woman to him as a man, because he sees himself as Lord and Master. Do you
Okay.
understand me? Is
Yes.
that you kneel down before him. Like you
Wow.
will kneel down. And
Humble
anything you
yourself.
say,
Mm.
anything you want, you will get it. Because for
Wow.
him, that is the definition of respect. That is the definition
Mm.
of honor. That's the definition
Lord
of
have mercy.
recognition. So you need to ask yourself, how far are you ready to go to communicate in the
Mm.
language the other person would respond to? So you need
Hey.
to know the communication language of your partner. Then also
Yes.
we must get to a point where we need to let go of our ego. Ego has done more harm than good. The moment you see ego expressing itself, you see it manifest as
Mm.
conflict, disagreements,
Mm.
anger, quarrel, and all of that. But another thing is, if you know your partner listens to a particular kind of person, if you
Okay.
believe that he respect or she respect that person more than any other person,
Mm.
if that's the only person who can talk to your partner, reach out to that person, as long as the goal is not to expose your family wahala, but you're seeking help
Yes.
so that somebody can
Very
be like a
important.
mediator. Yes, you
Yeah.
have to be sure
Yeah.
that that person will serve that purpose, or else you might shoot
Yes.
yourself in the
You
foot
might
if you're
create,
not
yes.
careful.
Things might get worse.
So those are other things
Yeah.
you consider. Then there are some people too. You are talking to somebody, you need somebody's attention, and you're walking away. You are in
Mm.
my four, and you're talking to somebody in my
That's
two.
somebody.
I mean,
Wow.
are you sure you want to communicate?
Mm. In
Then you have to
fact,
set the
I
tone.
find, yes,
You have to set the
the
tone right.
tone.
So your voice, what is your voice like? Is your tone
Mm.
harsh? Is it condescending? Is it demeaning? Are you demanding? Are you giving ultimatum? Are you feeling
Mm.
entitled? So
Mm.
all of these things are body languages, the subtle cues that would actually make somebody defensive or will open up the person to embrace what you want to say. Then also,
What?
you have to ask yourself really, really deeply, this thing I'm even
Mm.
about to bring, is this something I can solve on my own without even being
Okay.
bothered about what my partner even feels about it? Because
Uh-huh.
sometimes our projection of acceptance or validation can also become a problem. If you're looking for
Break
your
that
partner to
down.
always validate you in every single decision or anything you do, you've got a problem. You're beginning to suffer from codependency, and codependency can
Mm.
be destructive.
Okay. So let me just hang on that point. What you're saying is you have a partner or you also have someone in a relationship who they're not able, they don't know where to fit in, really. And if their partner doesn't reaffirm what they are doing, and if their partner doesn't assure them that this is right or wrong, they kind of lose their sense of gravity. And this is an extension of a problem that we also observe. One that where you have two people and the one person is clear on what they want to do in life. The other person is not so clear what they want to do in life. And you can't place what their drive is, what their passion is. How do you deal with that kind of a person? How do if you are a passionate, driven individual and you are in a relationship with somebody who's very unaware of what their goal in life is and unable to define what their interests are because it's easy once you know someone's interest you can approach them from that angle. You can find something that gives them joy, that gives them purpose. But it's like saying somebody that's having any purpose in life. How can someone in a relationship, be in a relationship, respect the other person's passion and purpose, but also have their own purpose in life? Because if you people don't know what I know you, for example, I know what your passions are, what your drives are, what your interests are, and it is easy to approach you on subjects and areas that I know would be appealing to you. If you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't seem to have it, just and the wind blows anywhere and they just go, they don't want to seem to know where they're going. How do you deal with such a person, especially if you are the one who feels like you need something to work on and there's nothing else going on in the relationship to keep you going, and the person doesn't, there's nothing else. How do you deal with that? Because that's a big problem.
So, what I would say is this: we're looking at issues of self worth, self esteem,
Mm.
right? These are
Yes.
the key things we're looking at. So, if somebody's sense of self worth is very low, in other words, they don't even
Mm.
have a sense of this is what I'm capable of, these are my
Mm.
skills, these are my capacities, capacities. These are my networks that I can amplify and do something about. And they are
Yeah.
also not committed to doing the work, right?
Mm.
Instead, they want applause all the time for the little they have done.
They
We're
don't.
going back into somebody's history where over time, what has happened is the person has always sought external validation and has always waited to be told what to do. Now, they will need to do a lot of self-monitoring, self-check, and self-growth so that they too can begin to take some sense of ownership. Because what is happening here is that you're dealing with somebody who does not have any sense of ownership. And then you also look
Yeah.
at somebody who may also have probably depression has set in and they can no longer control themselves. And when I say depression, it means they've allowed their internal monologue, the negative self-talk, to diminish them and reduce their capacity to be in charge of their own affairs. So for people like that, often you can sit them like a professional or get a professional help, like a therapist or a counselor, a coach or something. But they need to walk through their own fears because beneath all of these are people who are afraid. People who is
Yeah.
afraid to fail, people who is afraid to venture, people who are afraid of condemnation, people who are sensitive to how they are perceived.
Yeah.
And then too, maybe whatever they've done in the past have never been recognized by anybody, and so they feel there's no point making any effort. Or maybe they've made effort in the past, but they've always been, it don't matter, your contribution is not significant. And they just got to a point
Wow.
where they say, you know what, F
I
it,
don't count.
I don't care anymore. I don't want to be a part of this. But essentially, we need to know why they are demotivated. There is usually underlying causes. It could also be hormonal changes, environment. It could also be the partner they are with. Are they with partners who uplift them? Or are they with partners who also diminish them further? Are they in a codependency relationship where they always feel, no, I can't make a decision? Who am I to make a decision? Why will I make a decision? So they suffer from imposter syndrome and things like that. So we need to know the root cause of the problem before we can say and extrapolate a solution to how to tackle it. And the person must also be willing on their own, right, to even want to find out why they are the way they are. Often, if they're honest and can put their pen to paper, their thoughts down, what happens is they begin to see who they are. There are a lot of materials they can also read to help them understand what's going on, personality tests they can do, even online, to discover who am I, what kind of interests will fascinate me. They should be able to write things like, what are my skills? What skills do I have that I went to learn? What are my hobbies? What is my passion?
Yes.
What is my mission? What is my talent? You know, what drives me crazy? What if I think about it, I go gaga. They need to get to that level. But then again, it's not always easy on the other partner because the truth is it will take a lot of patience, kindness, thoughtfulness, mindfulness, empathy. These are qualities that the other partner needs to hold on for a long while they encourage the
Wow.
person. But if
Very
in
important.
doing so, you're discovering the person is not even making the effort, then you have to think first of your own mental health and not get sucked in to that person's own level of demotivation and depression.
Yeah, I think that's really very important. So the partner, if you have a partner who is unsure of what they want to be in life, or unsure of who they are in this world and what role they play or contribute, as a partner, you have to be very patient. You have to be very tolerant. That's what all loving relationships need to be, right? And that's not easy. It's easy to say this, but to do that is not easy because naturally we are all selfish, right? We are all selfish generally. So you need the Holy Spirit, you need God's grace to give you the confidence and the patience to
Actually, it
deal with a
starts with you
partner.
deciding it. It's you deciding. You just decide. Because if you
Yeah,
don't make a decision on something, nothing in this world will convince you to go ahead with it or go through with it.
would
But once you decide that this
true,
is what
true.
you want to do, right? And then in decision, it means you're going to now take deliberate, intentional steps.
Yes.
But your partner too, we cannot leave the load on one person to take care of somebody else's own responsibility. This is where self-responsibility is important. We need to learn how
Very
to be
important.
responsible for ourselves. So
Ourselves.
Yeah, because part of the problem we're having is that many parents handle their children with too much kid gloves and over pampering, not exposing them to the realities of life. And that's why you see
Yeah,
they
I
cannot
also
deal with adversity. So their
yeah, I
adversity
also
quotient is very low.
yeah, I also find that when parents are too heavy-handed, too strict, too restrictive, especially for females, if you don't allow them to face some realities of life early on in life, if you are always shielding them from realities of dealing with
Helicopter
the
parenting.
opposite sex, thank you. So parents who are always hovering over them, and now they are now thrown out there into the real world. They're in a relationship, they're married, and they don't know how to operate. They don't know how to make decisions. They are inexperienced. And so there's a fine balancing act here where parenting can contribute significantly to building a child's self-esteem. I always say, when I worked in the school system, I always say that a child, by the time a child is over out of nursery school, that child should be clear on who they are. I am a boy, I am a girl. By the time they're done with primary school, they should know what they like. I am a boy who likes to run, who likes to play, who likes to do this. By the time they're done with secondary school or high school, they should be very clear on what they want to contribute to society. So that when they go to university, their purpose of going to university is to say, listen, I am going to pick up some skills that will help me contribute in ABCD to the society in which I live in. Oftentimes, people go to university and they don't know what they want to do. They have no idea what they want to contribute. And you ask them, what are you studying? And they say, well, they gave me this. I would have loved to do this, but they gave me that. So they settle for whatever they give because they don't have an idea of what they want to contribute to society. So this is really powerful. And I think we can go on this forever and ever. And for you out there, I really hope that you picked up a few things. Now, a lot of us are seeing that we live in relationships where we are afraid to communicate. We are afraid to express ourselves. And a relationship is supposed to be like our safe haven has now become that place that we in psychology we call it approach avoidance. We only go there if we have to, and we avoid it as much as we can. But we talk about the food, we talk about the bills, we talk about the children, we talk about the next event, but that's it. We avoid everything else. So we are living in an approach avoidance relationship, and it's a dangerous one. So I really want to thank you, Lady Eve, so much. I know you have a lot to say, and if I know if I leave you, you would keep going. So I think it would be nice if you could share with us how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, so if you want to connect with me on my socials, it's Lady E Umukoro at Lady E Umukoro, or just Google Lady E Ejiro Umukoro, and a lot of stuff will pop and you can connect. And if you want to reach me via phone number, it's 0803 5926901.